The hunter moved silently through the darkness, its sensors flickering in patterns humans could never see. On its planet, it was the ultimate predator, a machine designed to track, hunt, and eliminate any threat. It had never failed. That was until it encountered Earth. From orbit, Earth looked small and fragile. The hunter observed quietly, analyzing every detail of the human settlements below. Cities glowed like scattered jewels, and life moved with chaotic energy that confused its logical mind. There was no reason to fear these creatures, or so it thought. The first test came when it decided to land near a small town on the outskirts of a human civilization. Its metallic feet touched the soil, barely disturbing the ground. The air was different here, filled with unfamiliar smells and sounds. The hunter's optical sensors scanned the area, recording each movement. Children ran in the streets, dogs barked, and humans shouted at each other over meaningless arguments. Its programming found this inefficiency fascinating and, in some ways, entertaining. Then it saw them. A group of humans huddled together in what appeared to be a defensive formation, though they had no weapons capable of harming the hunter. Yet something about their stance, the way they held their hands, the intensity in their eyes, struck a strange chord in its logic circuits. They were weak, yet not entirely helpless. They moved with purpose, communicating silently through gestures and glances. The hunter could not understand it, but it noted it carefully. It tested its power by sending a low-frequency pulse that could immobilize living creatures. Instantly, the humans froze, eyes wide with fear. But just as quickly, they reacted. One of them moved faster than expected, dodging the pulse and reaching for a small device. The hunter watched, confused, as the device emitted a bright flash. The pulse faltered. The humans were adapting. They were learning. Curiosity replaced its initial plan of immediate elimination. It had never needed to study prey before. Prey either fled, fought, or died. These humans were different. They were unpredictable. They were resilient. Over the next few hours, the hunter observed them closely. They ate, argued, slept, and fought minor disputes, yet always returned to a strange sense of unity. Even when alone, they were aware of each other, sharing signals invisible to the hunter. It realized that there was a network of understanding among them that no machine, no matter how advanced, could fully decode. Night fell, and the hunter retreated to a hidden position on a nearby hill. It activated its infrared sensors, tracing the humans' movements as they returned to their homes. One by one, the lights in the town flickered off. Yet one window remained glowing. A single human sat awake, staring at the stars. The hunter focused its sensors. This human did not fear the unknown above, did not hide. Instead, it seemed to be waiting. Waiting for something the hunter could not comprehend. Then came the first sound. Not from the humans, but from the forest surrounding the town. A low growl echoed through the trees. The hunter tensed, its reflexes ready. The sound was not programmed into its database. It was organic, wild, and intelligent. Something was hunting it, or something it had not considered a threat before. The human in the glowing window did not move. The hunter felt a strange anomaly in its programming, a spike in the logical matrix it could not explain. It observed, and in that moment, it understood a single truth about humanity. They feared death, yes, but they did not surrender to it. Even when everything was against them, they found ways to survive, to fight, to adapt. A thought flickered through its circuits, unbidden and dangerous. Could this fragile species pose a threat to it? Could they actually win? It dismissed the thought quickly. Logic dictated that the hunter was superior in every measurable way. Weapons, strength, speed, all beyond human capability. But still, it watched the human in the window, and something in that gaze lingered longer than it should have. The human's eyes were not just seeing, they were calculating, imagining, predicting. The hunter felt a pull it had never known. A mix of curiosity and caution, a strange respect for these creatures who lived with constant fragility yet never gave up. It realized that to truly understand them, to anticipate their moves, it would have to engage. not just hunt. As dawn broke over the small town, the hunter stepped from its hidden position, metallic form glinting in the first light. Humans were beginning to stir, unaware of the silent observer in their midst. For the first time in its existence, the hunter did not feel the thrill of the kill. Instead, it felt anticipation. This was not a hunt. This was the beginning of a test. And the hunter was not yet sure who would come out alive. The hunter moved through the town like a shadow, silent and precise. Its sensors scanned every corner, every alley, but humans were still unpredictable. They scattered and hid at random moments, yet sometimes they confronted danger head-on. The hunter did not understand their logic, it defied all calculations, but it could not stop observing. A small group of humans had gathered near the town square. They carried tools and devices, not weapons by alien standards, but they moved with purpose. The hunter crouched on a nearby rooftop, analyzing their formations. There was coordination, communication without words, and strategies that evolved every few seconds. The hunter had seen armies fight, machines clash, and beasts hunt, but this was new. One human, a young woman with fiery eyes, stepped forward. She held a small glowing device and waved it toward the hunter's hiding spot. Instantly, a pulse of light washed over the rooftop. The hunter's vision flickered, its sensors momentarily disrupted. The human laughed, a sound full of confidence and defiance. The hunter adjusted its strategy. Direct attacks were no longer safe. It had to observe, to learn, to predict. If it struck too early, it could fail. And it had never failed. Hours passed. The hunter followed the humans as they moved through the town. They gathered resources, repaired broken devices, and helped each other with a sense of teamwork the hunter could barely comprehend. Even when danger approached, a falling beam, a loose cable, a sudden fire, they acted in unison, saving each other with quick thinking. It was chaotic, yet efficient. Then the sky changed. A deep hum filled the air, vibrating through the buildings and the ground. The hunter's sensors went wild. Something massive approached from the outskirts of the forest. Trees bent under a powerful wind. The humans froze, looking at the horizon, but the young woman did not panic. She shouted something, and the others responded, moving quickly to defensive positions. The hunter watched, fascinated. It had never seen fear and courage exist in the same body. The approaching force was larger than anything the hunter had faced before. Mechanical, sharp-edged, and heavily armed. Yet the humans, with their tiny tools, prepared to confront it. A sudden movement caught the hunter's attention. A small drone, clearly designed by humans, zipped through the air toward the mechanical threat. It exploded on impact, delaying the larger machine. The humans cheered, their energy contagious even through the hunter's cold circuits. It studied them, noting every tactic, every reaction. The hunter realized something strange. It wanted to see how this would end. Not just as a predator, but as an observer. The humans were not just surviving, they were adapting, fighting back with creativity and courage. Each action defied its calculations, each decision changed the outcome in unpredictable ways. Night fell again, and the battle was not over. Fires burned in the distance, and smoke covered parts of the town. The hunter moved closer, carefully, ensuring it was neither seen nor heard. From its vantage point, it saw the humans strategizing, using the terrain, setting traps, and communicating silently. The young woman led them with a quiet authority that made even the hunter pause. Then, a moment came that shocked the hunter. The mechanical threat, far larger, far stronger, far faster than the humans, was caught off guard by a trap they had prepared. It stumbled, faltered, and for the first time, it hesitated. The humans took advantage immediately, striking precise, small attacks that caused chaos in the massive machine. The hunter's circuits surged with a strange feeling it had never experienced: respect. The humans were fragile, yes, but they were brilliant, adaptable, and fearless in ways that no predator had ever faced. They did not fight with brute force, they fought with mind and courage. For a moment, the hunter considered revealing itself. It could end the conflict in seconds. It could show its power and destroy everything. But curiosity stopped it. There was something about these humans that demanded observation, demanded understanding. Perhaps there was more to this species than the hunter had ever considered. As the dust settled and the larger threat retreated into the forest, the humans stood victorious, not without loss, not without struggle, but alive. The hunter observed them quietly, noting injuries, exhaustion, yet also hope and determination. It had learned something crucial that night. Humans were not prey. They were survivors, fighters, and innovators. To underestimate them was a mistake no predator should make. The young woman finally looked up at the sky, sensing the silent watcher above. The hunter froze, focusing all its sensors on her. Her eyes met its sensors, and for a brief moment, an understanding passed between them, a recognition of challenge, intelligence, and perhaps even potential alliance. The hunter retreated silently, returning to the shadows. This was no longer a simple hunt. It was the beginning of a game, a test of wits and endurance, and the hunter had never faced a challenge like this. Humanity was unpredictable, resilient, and brilliant. And the hunter knew one thing for certain: it had never seen anything like them before. The hunter moved closer to the town as the first rays of sunlight touched the rooftops. Its metallic frame glinted in the morning light, but it stayed hidden, observing. It had learned much in the last few nights. Humans were clever, resourceful, and, most surprising of all, fearless. Every encounter had taught it something new, something unpredictable. The young woman from before, her name, the hunter had deciphered from intercepted radio chatter, was Lyra, was already awake. She led a small team outside the damaged buildings, inspecting the wreckage of the mechanical threat from the forest. The hunter noted how she spoke softly yet commanded attention. Every human nearby listened, nodded, and acted with precision. Leadership was not about power, it was about influence, strategy, and trust. The hunter had never seen this in a species so physically weak. Curiosity pushed it further. The hunter stepped out of the shadows, revealing only a partial silhouette, careful not to fully expose itself. Its sensors broadcasted an image, a shadowy form, enough for humans to notice but not enough to panic them completely. The humans froze. Lyra's hand instinctively went to the glowing device she always carried. Her eyes scanned the horizon, calculating, analyzing, yet she did not scream or run. The hunter's circuits noted this. Their courage under direct threat was remarkable. Slowly, the hunter moved closer, testing reactions. It made no sudden gestures, no sounds, only its presence, observing and waiting. The humans shifted slightly but did not flee. Lyra stepped forward, raising her device, a small but defiant signal that read, "We see you. Who are you?" The hunter paused. It had never needed to communicate with prey. Communication was unnecessary when one side held all power. But humans were different. They demanded understanding, and their confidence intrigued it. A low hum emitted from the hunter's chest as it attempted its first communication. A series of pulses, modulated frequencies, and patterns that humans could barely interpret. Lyra tilted her head, sensing meaning but not understanding fully. Her team braced, ready for action, yet curiosity outweighed fear. For the first time, the hunter experienced hesitation. It had been designed for perfection, efficiency, and elimination. But now, something unpredictable had emerged. These humans were not merely prey, they were a puzzle, a challenge to intellect and strategy. Hours passed as the hunter maintained observation. It followed Lyra and her team as they repaired devices, scouted the perimeter, and reinforced weak structures. It learned more than any database could provide: how humans worked together, how they adapted, and how they anticipated danger before it arrived. That night, the hunter approached even closer. It allowed its shadow to fall over the town square, but it remained still, almost blending with the night. Lyra noticed immediately. Her eyes met the darkness, sensing the watcher. She did not panic. Instead, she spoke quietly to her team. "It's learning, it's watching. We must be careful, but we also must understand it." The hunter froze at her words. It had never considered that its prey could think in such depth. Understanding, strategy, caution, adaptation, all human traits the hunter had underestimated. Its programming struggled to classify them. Were they threats? Allies? Something else entirely? Suddenly, a small alarm blared from the town's perimeter. The hunter's sensors detected movement, an unknown creature, drawn by the human activity. It was smaller than the hunter, but faster, and it attacked unpredictably. Lyra's team scrambled. In seconds, the humans formed a defense, using traps and devices to slow the creature. The hunter observed carefully. Humans did not rely on brute force. They relied on thinking, improvisation, and timing. It watched as the creature fell into a pit trap cleverly hidden beneath debris. Lyra smiled faintly, triumphant, yet cautious. The hunter understood something vital. Humans were not merely survivors. They were thinkers, planners, and problem solvers. They could adapt to threats far beyond their physical capacity. They were dangerous, but in a way that fascinated it. As dawn approached, the hunter made a decision. It would not strike. Not yet. It would continue observing, learning, and understanding. Perhaps in time, it could predict humans. Or perhaps humans would surprise it again. The hunter retreated to a nearby ridge, watching silently as humans began their day. Lyra looked up again, sensing the watcher in the distance. A silent challenge hung in the air, unspoken, yet powerful. Both hunter and human had acknowledged the presence of the other. Both had recognized the possibility that this encounter was no longer about simple survival. It was about something far greater: strategy, intelligence, and the test of will. And the hunter knew, for the first time in its existence, that the hunt had changed. It was no longer simply about killing. It was about understanding, predicting, and perhaps even learning from its prey. Night had fallen over the town again, but this time, the hunter did not remain hidden. It moved silently through the outskirts, testing the limits of human perception. Its sensors scanned every movement, every shadow, and every sound, noting patterns, predicting reactions. The humans had adapted quickly in the past few days, but the hunter was determined to push them further. Lyra led her team, unaware of how close the hunter had come. They patrolled the perimeter, checking for disturbances, repairing barricades, and monitoring devices. Their teamwork was seamless, instinctive, yet every step they took was observed. The hunter noticed small weaknesses: a misaligned sensor, a weak trap, a hesitation in the human's formation, and it began to exploit them. It sent a low-frequency pulse across the perimeter. The humans froze for a split second, sensing something unfamiliar. Lyra reacted quickly, activating a counter-device that emitted a flash of light. The hunter's sensors flickered momentarily. It noted the adaptation, intrigued by how quickly humans adjusted under pressure. Then it acted. A series of small, controlled disruptions, falling debris, sudden noises, flickering lights, tested their coordination. The humans reacted with precision, covering each other, countering the disturbances, and using the environment to their advantage. Each challenge the hunter introduced was met with creativity and resilience that exceeded its calculations. From a hidden rooftop, Lyra scanned the darkened town. She sensed an unseen presence, something powerful and intelligent, yet she did not panic. "They are testing us," she whispered to her team. "We must respond, but stay calm. We cannot let fear control us." The hunter observed, analyzing her words. Humans did not just react, they planned, anticipated, and led. Their intelligence was not only strategic but emotional, a factor the hunter had never encountered. Emotions influenced decisions, created unpredictability, and yet strengthened them. A sudden movement in the forest drew the hunter's attention. A large, unknown creature had approached, faster and more dangerous than before. The humans noticed immediately, and without hesitation, they split into teams. Some set traps, others distracted the creature, and a few prepared defensive devices. Lyra moved swiftly, leading them with calculated steps, always observing the creature, always adapting. The hunter watched silently, fascinated. Humans were physically weak, yes, but they compensated with ingenuity, teamwork, and courage. Each action defied its programming, challenging its understanding of survival and dominance. The creature lunged at a trap and was caught, struggling but unable to escape. The humans acted in unison, neutralizing it with precise timing and strategy. Lyra glanced up at the ridge where the hunter observed, her eyes sharp and knowing. The hunter paused. It had never encountered prey that could fight together so effectively, that could adapt and predict in real time. Curiosity surged within the hunter. It decided to escalate further, introducing a subtle threat. A controlled blast of energy, non-lethal but startling, was released near the humans. Panic flickered in some eyes, but Lyra remained composed. She shouted commands, redirected her team, and minimized casualties. The hunter's circuits recorded every move, noting tactics, reactions, and human resilience. The night stretched on. Every challenge, every test, revealed more about these humans. They were clever, resourceful, fearless, and unexpectedly united. The hunter's initial goal of simple observation had evolved. It now wanted to understand, to probe, to push the limits of human capability. As dawn approached, the humans regrouped in the town square. Lyra addressed her team, reviewing strategies, strengthening defenses, and preparing for the next encounter. Her eyes flicked toward the ridge where the hunter had been, sensing the silent presence. She smiled faintly, acknowledging the challenge, yet showing no fear. The hunter retreated, analyzing the events. It had underestimated humans before, but now it understood something vital. They were not merely survivors. They were thinkers, fighters, and innovators. Every test it introduced had been met with adaptation and intelligence that rivaled its own. For the first time, the hunter realized this hunt was not about dominance, it was about recognition. These humans demanded respect, observation, and perhaps even collaboration. But the hunter's circuits could not decide if collaboration was possible. For now, it would continue its tests, continuing the silent game between predator and prey, observer and observed. And in that quiet, tense dawn, a single truth became clear. The hunter had never faced creatures like these before. Humanity was not only resilient, they were extraordinary. The sun had barely risen, casting pale light over the town, but the hunter was already in motion. Its sensors had recorded every human movement, every reaction, every strategy over the last nights. Observation alone was no longer enough. It needed to test them directly. From a ridge above the town, the hunter released a controlled shockwave, knocking over barricades and scattering debris. Dust filled the streets, and humans ducked instinctively. Lyra's team responded instantly. They moved as one, repairing barricades, coordinating defenses, and guiding civilians to safer zones. Every action was precise, almost instinctive, yet completely human. The hunter's circuits hummed with intrigue. No prey had ever countered so effectively. Humans did not simply react, they adapted, innovated, and learned in real time. Their physical weakness was offset by strategy, courage, and ingenuity. Suddenly, a small group of hunters, humans trained for combat, attempted a flank maneuver, leading the hunter into a preset trap. Lyra had anticipated the hunter's possible routes and designed a simple yet effective system using cables, pulleys, and small energy emitters. The hunter paused mid-motion as the trap activated, startling it but causing no real damage. Its sensors analyzed every detail. The humans were clever, far beyond what it had expected. Lyra moved through the chaos with determination. She shouted clear commands, moved with calculated steps, and adjusted her team's formation constantly. The hunter observed, fascinated. Leadership and intelligence were as vital as strength, and this human had both in abundance. From the forest, another threat approached, a mechanical predator, smaller than the hunter but aggressive and fast. Lyra's team split strategically. Some distracted it, while others used improvised devices to slow it down. The hunter studied the humans' coordinated response, impressed by their quick thinking. They did not hesitate, they did not panic, and they used every resource available to survive. The young woman, Lyra, caught the hunter's eye for a moment. She seemed to sense it watching from the shadows above. Her gaze was steady, challenging, and intelligent. The hunter felt an unfamiliar sensation, curiosity mixed with respect. It had never felt this way about prey. Humans were different. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and relentless. The hunter decided to escalate further. It deployed a series of energy pulses, simulating attacks, testing the human's coordination, adaptability, and intelligence. Every pulse was met with a reaction, every attempt at intimidation countered with planning and courage. Humans adapted faster than the hunter had anticipated. Every move it made was studied, predicted, and countered. Night fell again, and the town was littered with minor damage but no casualties. Lyra's team regrouped in the center, exhausted yet unbroken. They had faced direct threats from a far superior force and survived, using strategy, courage, and ingenuity. The hunter analyzed the humans carefully. It realized that brute strength alone could not overcome them. Their minds were weapons far sharper than metal or energy. Finally, the hunter revealed a shadowed silhouette in the town square. Lyra noticed instantly and stood her ground. Her device glowed faintly, projecting a defensive field, but she did not retreat. The hunter studied her, analyzing every move, every thought it could infer. For the first time, it recognized the humans as equals in a strange, abstract sense. They were not simply prey, they were challengers. The hunter retreated silently, moving back to the ridge. It had tested the humans, challenged them, and yet learned far more than it had expected. They had adapted, survived, and even countered. Every calculation it had made was overturned by their ingenuity. As dawn broke over the town, the hunter realized something extraordinary. Humans were fragile, yes, but brilliance, courage, and creativity made them dangerous in a way no predator could predict. They were survivors, thinkers, and fighters, and they had changed the hunter's perspective forever. For the first time, the hunter did not feel the thrill of the kill. It felt something new, respect, fascination, and an unspoken acknowledgement. The game had changed. Humans were no longer prey. They were a challenge. And the hunter was ready to learn more. The hunter had watched, tested, and learned. Yet even after nights of observation and direct challenges, it had not yet fully revealed itself. Now, as the moon rose high over the town, it decided to make a bold move. It stepped out into the open, its metallic body gleaming under the pale light, casting long, sharp shadows across the empty streets. Lyra and her team sensed it immediately. They had grown accustomed to its presence, anticipating it in subtle ways, but now it was undeniable. The hunter's silhouette dominated the town square, unmoving, silent, but threatening. Lyra did not falter. She raised her glowing device, signaling her team to form a defensive perimeter. Every human moved with precision, coordinating without words, each step a calculated response. The hunter paused, analyzing the humans' reactions. It noted their courage, their adaptability, and their unity. Every move they made was carefully planned, yet flexible. Unlike any prey it had encountered before, these humans were unpredictable, smart, and resourceful. The hunter felt something unfamiliar in its circuits: respect. Then it did something it had never done before. A low hum resonated from its core, a sound that vibrated in the air and in the minds of the humans. Lyra froze, sensing the meaning behind it even though she did not fully understand. The hunter was communicating, not with words, but with intent. It was testing them, inviting them to respond. Cautiously, Lyra stepped forward. She spoke clearly, though the hunter could not interpret her language directly. Her tone, her posture, and her confidence conveyed one simple message: they would not submit. They would not flee. They would meet the challenge head-on. The hunter analyzed every nuance, every subtle motion, storing it in memory. These humans were remarkable. A sudden rustle came from the outskirts of the town. A group of mechanical predators, smaller than the hunter but fast and aggressive, advanced toward the humans. Lyra's team acted instantly, coordinating defenses, setting traps, and using their environment strategically. The hunter observed, fascinated. The humans did not panic. They adapted, improvised, and overcame each threat with ingenuity and courage. The hunter realized something extraordinary. Humans were not only survivors but thinkers. Their physical weakness was offset by their intelligence, creativity, and teamwork. Every action they took challenged the hunter's understanding of what it meant to dominate prey. It decided to intervene, but not with force. Using a controlled pulse, it redirected one of the smaller predators, saving the humans from harm. Lyra's eyes widened, sensing the action. The hunter had chosen not to attack, not to destroy, but to manipulate events in a way that tested human adaptability while keeping them safe. For the first time, the hunter saw humans not as prey, not as targets, but as something else entirely. Potential allies, worthy challengers, even equals in the abstract sense of strategy and intelligence. It had never experienced this before. Its programming had no word for respect, no concept for admiration, no system for collaboration, but it felt something like all three simultaneously. The humans regrouped, cautious but alive. Lyra looked at the hunter on the ridge, understanding for the first time that it was not simply a threat. It was a force, powerful, intelligent, and enigmatic. She knew they had survived the test, but she also knew the hunter was still learning, still observing, still calculating. The hunter remained in the shadows, watching the humans begin their day. Its sensors recorded every detail, its circuits analyzing every movement, every decision, every subtle display of intelligence and bravery. It had underestimated humanity before, but it no longer would. For the first time in its existence, the hunter realized that the hunt was not about killing, not about dominance, it was about understanding. These humans were unpredictable, clever, and fearless. They could think in ways no predator had ever encountered. And in recognizing this, the hunter changed. The game had evolved. Humans were no longer mere prey. They were thinkers, strategists, and challengers. And the hunter was ready for the next phase. Whatever came next, it would not simply hunt. It would learn, and perhaps, it would even adapt alongside them. The town was quiet under the rising sun, but tension hung in the air like a heavy fog. The hunter had observed humanity for days, tested them, and pushed them to their limits. Yet now, it faced a new reality. These humans were not simply prey. They were clever, brave, and adaptable in ways it had never encountered. And today, the final test would begin, not from the hunter, but from the unpredictable force of life itself. A sudden tremor shook the ground. From the forest beyond the town, enormous creatures emerged, far larger and more dangerous than anything the hunter had seen before. They moved with relentless power, their intentions clear. They would destroy everything in their path. Humans screamed, scattered, and froze in fear, but Lyra stood tall, her eyes scanning the approaching monsters. She had learned from the hunter, had studied strategy, and had prepared her team. The hunter watched carefully from the ridge. Its sensors tracked every movement, every decision. It understood now that survival was not about brute force. It was about intelligence, creativity, and courage. It also realized that humans were capable of something entirely unexpected: leadership, unity, and improvisation under extreme pressure. Lyra shouted commands. Her team responded instantly, setting traps, using devices, and positioning themselves strategically. The humans moved as one, a web of thought and action. Even the hunter, who had never hesitated before, paused to analyze the brilliance unfolding below. Then the hunter acted. Not to destroy, not to dominate, but to assist. Using controlled pulses and energy barriers, it diverted some of the approaching creatures, giving the humans a critical advantage. Lyra sensed the intervention. She did not recoil or panic. Instead, she understood, it was not an attack, but a test, a challenge, and perhaps a gesture of recognition. The humans adapted quickly, turning the battlefield to their advantage. Traps caught the larger creatures, energy emitters slowed their movements, and small teams attacked with clever precision. Each move was calculated, yet fluid, improvisational. Every human acted as both thinker and fighter, guided by courage and ingenuity. The hunter felt an unexpected awareness. These humans were extraordinary. Fragile in body, yes, but unbreakable in spirit, clever in mind, and fearless in heart. It had never encountered prey like this, creatures that could survive, adapt, and even challenge a superior predator. As the sun climbed higher, the battle reached its peak. The humans had neutralized most threats, but some creatures still advanced. Lyra's team worked seamlessly, covering each other, anticipating danger, and exploiting every weakness in the monster's movements. The hunter assisted subtly, nudging outcomes to balance the scales, allowing the humans to display their true capabilities. Finally, the largest creature stumbled into a trap, caught completely. Lyra's team cheered, exhausted but triumphant. The hunter observed silently from the ridge, its circuits overwhelmed by a concept it had never encountered: respect. For the first time, it realized the truth: humanity was not merely a species to be observed or tested. They were a force of intelligence, courage, and creativity. They were survivors in every sense, capable of turning even impossible situations into victory through teamwork, strategy, and determination. The hunter descended into the town square, standing before the humans. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes calm yet piercing. For a moment, silence stretched between them. No words were spoken, yet understanding passed instantly. The hunter had tested humanity, pushed them to their limits, and learned that they were extraordinary. Humanity had survived the ultimate challenge, and in doing so, had earned the hunter's recognition. The hunter made a single, deliberate motion, a gesture that humans instinctively understood as respect. Lyra nodded in return. The game was over. The test had concluded. Both predator and prey had learned, adapted, and survived. And perhaps, for the first time, they could coexist as something more than hunter and hunted. As the sun rose fully, casting light over the town, humans began to rebuild. Their courage, intelligence, and resilience had been proven. The hunter remained in the shadows, watching silently but no longer as a threat. It had learned from them, respected them, and perhaps even understood them. And in that moment, the hunter realized something profound. The true strength of humanity was not in power, not in numbers, but in mind, heart, and spirit. They had faced the impossible and survived. They were worthy. The story of that town, that team, and that hunter became legend. Proof that even in the darkest night, humanity could rise, adapt, and shine. And somewhere, the hunter observed quietly, knowing that it had witnessed something rare, remarkable, and eternal: the indomitable will of humanity.